Liam clutched his swollen belly as another contraction tore through him. Rain pelted his skin, soaking through the thin shirt that barely covered his trembling form. 3 days ago, he'd been the cherished Omega of the Silver Creek pack. Now, he was nothing, cast out, rejected, alone. "You're carrying another Alpha's pups?" his mate Darius had snarled, eyes flashing with rage when he'd caught an unfamiliar scent on Liam's skin. No explanation would suffice. Not the truth that Liam had been helping an injured traveler, an Alpha passing through their territory. Not his pleas of innocence or his tears. The pack laws were clear. An Omega suspected of infidelity could be banished.
Case?
As Beta of the pack, had the authority, and he'd used it without hesitation. Deaf to Liam's desperate cries that the pups were his. Another contraction doubled Liam over. The forest floor was slick with mud, and his legs gave way. He collapsed against the base of a massive oak, panting. The pups were coming, and he had nothing, no shelter, no supplies, no help. "Please," he whispered to the uncaring sky. "Please let them survive." He'd been wandering for days, hoping to reach the neutral territory beyond the mountain range, where lone wolves sometimes found refuge, but the labor had started too soon. The storm had slowed his progress, and now time had run out. Liam's Omega instincts screamed for a safe den. With the last of his strength, he dragged himself toward a hollow beneath the oak's roots. It wasn't ideal, but it would have to do. He gathered fallen leaves, creating a makeshift nest as another wave of pain crashed through him. The first pup arrived as lightning split the sky. A tiny, perfect little girl with a tuft of silver hair like his own. Liam cleaned her with his tongue, weeping as she let out her first cry. The second pup followed quickly, a boy, larger than his sister, with markings that reminded Liam painfully of Darius. "I'll protect you," he promised, cradling them to his chest as they rooted for milk. Somehow, but Liam knew the odds. A lone Omega with newborns rarely survived in the wild. Predators would smell the birth blood. Other packs would consider him, even the pups, easy targets. And winter was approaching. As the storm raged on, Liam's consciousness began to fade. Blood loss and exhaustion pulled him toward darkness. The pups whimpered against him, sensing his distress and his delirium. Liam thought he heard heavy footsteps approaching. A massive shadow fell across the hollow. His Omega instincts flared in terror, but he was too weak to run, too weak to fight. "Mine to protect," he whispered, curling around his pups as a large figure knelt beside his makeshift den. The last thing Liam saw before darkness claimed him was a pair of crimson alpha eyes, the mark of royalty among werewolves, staring down. Adam, with an unreadable expression. Alaric, Alpha King of the Northern Territories. Had not expected to find an Omega and newborn pups during his border patrol. The scent of birth blood had drawn him away from his usual route. Protective instinct he couldn't ignore, despite his reputation for coldness. What he found beneath the ancient oak made even his hardened heart stutter. A beautiful male Omega, barely conscious, curled protectively around 2 tiny pups that couldn't be more than hours old. "Who did this to you?" Alaric growled, his massive frame crouching to better see into the hollow. The Omega was clearly abandoned. No. Alfor would leave their mate to birth alone in a storm. The thought made his inner wolf snarl with rage. The Omega's eyes fluttered, opened briefly, revealing irises of startling amber, before closing again. He was fading fast. Without hesitation, Alaric removed his heavy cloak and gently wrapped it around the small family. The pups squeaked in protests as he carefully lifted all 3 into his arms. The Omega weighed almost nothing, concerning Alaric further. He'd been starving even before the birth. "You're safe now," he murmured, though he doubted the Omega could. Hiram, I've gotcha. The journey back to his territory would take hours, even at his fastest pace. Alaric adjusted his hold, creating a shelter with his body to keep the rain off his precious cargo. The Omega's breathing was shallow. His skin alarmingly cool. Despite the fever, Alaric could sense burning within him. As Alpha King, Alaric ruled over 7 packs across the northern territories. He was feared and respected, known for his ruthless justice and uncompromising strength. What he wasn't known for was mercy or tenderness. Yet here he was, cradling an unknown Omega and pups, as if they were made of glass. His pack would be shocked. Alaric hadn't taken a mate in the decade since he'd become king. Many believed he never would, that the ice around his heart was too thick to melt. "Stay with me," he commanded the unconscious Omega as he felt the small body shiver violently. "Your pups need you." The storm intensified, but Alaric pressed on, using his superior strength and knowledge of the terrain to navigate the treacherous forests. By midnight, the lights of his territory came into view, a sprawling compound, protected by ancient magic and loyal warriors. Guards at the perimeter straightened in shock as their Alpha King emerged from the darkness, soaked to the skin and carrying what appeared to be an Omega and pups. "Alert, the healer," Alaric ordered, his voice leaving no room for questions, "and prepare the chambers adjoining mine." As he strode through his territory, pack members stopped and stared. Alaric ignored them all, focused solely on getting the Omega the help he needed. The pups had fallen silent, a worrying sign in his 15 years as Alpha. Alaric had never brought a stranger directly into the heart of his den. Yet something about this Omega called to him, awakened protective instincts he'd thought long buried. "You'll live," he told the unconscious figure in his arms. "All 3 of you will live. I command it." Liam woke to unfamiliar softness, his body cradled by furs and silken sheets. Panic seized him as memory returned the birth, the storm, the crimson eyes. His hands flew to his stomach, finding it empty. "My pups," he cried, struggling to sit up, despite the pain that lanced through his body. "They're here," came a deep voice from the corner of the room. "Safe." Liam's gaze snapped toward the sound. A massive Alpha stood beside an ornate wooden cradle, his broad shoulders blocking Liam's view. The Alpha turned, and Liam's breath caught. He was magnificent, tall, and powerfully built, with midnight black hair and those same crimson eyes that had been Liam's last sight before unconsciousness claimed him. But what truly stunned Liam was the tiny bundle cradled in the Alpha's enormous hands, his pup looking impossibly small against the man's palm. "Give her to me," Liam demanded, his Omega instincts overriding any sense of caution. The Alpha approached, his movements deliberately slow, and placed the pup in Liam's outstretched arms. "Your son is sleeping," he said, nodding toward the cradle. "He's stronger than this little one. She needed extra warmth." Liam examined his daughter frantically, relaxing only when he confirmed she was unharmed. Her tiny chest rose and fell steadily, her silver hair a soft down against her head. "Where am I?" Liam asked, finally looking around at the opulent chamber. Stone walls hung with tapestries, a roaring fire and a massive hearth. Furniture carved from ancient wood. This was no ordinary wolf's den. "My territory, the Northern Realm." The Alpha's voice was like gravel, deep and rough. "I am Alaric." The name hit Liam like a physical blow. Everyone knew of Alaric, the Alpha King, who ruled the 7 northern packs with an iron fist. Stories of his ruthlessness traveled far, even to Liam's former territory. "Why did you bring me here?" Liam clutched his daughter closer, suddenly afraid. Alphas like Alaric didn't rescue strays without reason. You were dying, Alaric stated. Simply, the pups would have followed. A female Omega entered then, carrying a tray of food. She smiled kindly at Liam before setting it beside him. I'm Alara, the pack healer. You've been unconscious for 2 days. Your body needed time to heal. Liam's eyes widened. 2 days. We've been feeding the pups a special formula, Alara explained. But they need their parents' milk. Can you try to eat something? You need strength. Liam nodded, suddenly aware of his gnawing hunger. As he ate, Alaric retrieved the second pup from the cradle and brought him to Liam. They're healthy, the Alpha King said, his expression unreadable as he watched Liam cradle both pups. Strong, despite everything. Thank you, Liam whispered, the words inadequate for saving their lives. Alaric nodded curtly. When you're stronger, you'll tell me who abandoned you. Which alpha left his Omega to birth alone in a storm? It wasn't a request. Liam swallowed hard, unsure how much to reveal. His former pack was small, no match for the Alpha King's forces, if Alaric decided to seek retribution. Rest now, Alara said, shooting a warning glance at her alpha. The pups need you well. Alaric's crimson gaze lingered on Liam for a moment longer before he turned to leave. At the door, he paused. You're under my protection now. No harm will come to you or the pups within these walls. The door closed behind him, leaving Liam with more questions than answers. Why would the fearsome Alpha King care about a rejected Omega and pups that weren't his? What would he want in return? Liam looked down at his sleeping children. Whatever came next, he would face it. For them. Scene 4. Tension builds a week past in the Alpha King's fortress, each day bringing Liam more strength. His pups whom he'd named Luna and Leah thrived under the constant care of Alara and the other pack Omegas, who seemed determined to help the newcomers. Alaric was a constant, unsettling presence. He visited daily, often standing silently by the window while Liam nursed the pups. His crimson gaze missed nothing, and Liam felt perpetually exposed under that scrutiny. You're well enough to join the pack for dinner tonight, Alaric announced on the 7th day. His tone making it clear this wasn't a suggestion. Liam tensed. He'd been avoiding the rest of the pack, uncertain of his status here. The pups, Alara will watch them, Alaric cut in. My pack is curious about you. Rumors spread when I brought you here. Of course they would. An Alpha King rescuing a strange Omega and pups was unprecedented. Liam had heard whispers from the servants. Some believed he was Alaric's secret mate. Others that the pups were somehow Alaric's own. What should I tell them? Liam asked, meeting Alaric's gaze directly for perhaps the first time. Something flickered in those crimson depths of approval. Perhaps. Truth. That I've found you abandoned and brought you here to recover. And after I recover, the question had been haunting Liam. His strength was returning. Soon he would have no excuse to remain. Alaric's jaw tightened. We'll discuss that when the time comes. That evening, dressed in borrowed clothes that were finer than anything he'd ever owned, Liam entered the great hall on Alaric's arm. Conversation died as every head turned toward them. Liam fought the urge to shrink behind the Alpha King's massive frame. This is Liam, Alaric announced, his voice carrying effortlessly through the hall. He and his pups are under my protection. Treat them accordingly. The declaration sent a ripple through the assembled wolves. Liam felt the weight of dozens of stares as Alaric led him to the high table. To his shock, the Alpha King seated him, at his right hand a position of highest honor. Eat, Alaric commanded quietly. As servants brought platters of roasted meat and vegetables, Liam obeyed. though his appetite had vanished under the scrutiny of the pack. Beside him, a female alpha, with Alaric's same midnight hair, leaned closer. "I'm Lyra, Alaric's sister," she said, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. "My brother hasn't brought anyone to his table in years. You must be special." Before Liam could respond, another voice cut in from across the table. "Or perhaps he simply pities the abandoned Omega." This came from a handsome alpha with cold blue eyes. After all, what use is a rejected mate with another's pups? Alaric's growls silenced the table instantly. "Careful, Damon. Question my decisions again, and you'll find yourself without a place at this table or in this pack." The tension in the air thickened. Liam's hands trembled slightly as he reached for his goblet, acutely aware that he was the center of a power struggle he didn't understand. "Forgive my mate," said a beautiful Omega beside Damon. "He speaks without thinking sometimes." Her smile seemed genuine as she addressed Liam. "I'm Syrah. If you need anything for the pups, please ask. I have twins, myself." Gradually, conversation resumed around them. Liam felt Alaric's gaze on him throughout the meal, watchful and intense. When their fingers accidentally brushed as they reached for the same platter, an electric current seemed to pass between them. Liam jerked back, startled by the intensity of his reaction. Alaric's nostrils flared slightly, and Liam realized with horror that the alpha could probably smell the sudden spike in his scent, the unmistakable note of Omega attraction. "You should rest," Alaric said abruptly, rising from his seat. "I'll escort you back." As they left the hall, Liam felt the stares following them. He'd survived the dinner, but it was clear that his presence was causing ripples in the pack's hierarchy. And more concerning was his own reaction to the Alpha King, an attraction that was as unwelcome as it was dangerous. An Omega with Newburn, pups couldn't afford to develop feelings for an Alpha specially, not one as powerful and unknowable as Alaric. The pup's first fever came without warning. Liam woke to Luna's distressed whimpers, her tiny body burning hot against his chest. Leo soon followed, his usual robust cries reduced to weak mewling. Panic seized Liam's heart. In the wild, pup fever often meant death. He stumbled from the bed, cradling both burning infants, and rushed to the door. Before he could reach it, it swung open to reveal Alaric, his expression alert despite the late hour. "I smelled their distress," the Alpha King said, immediately taking Leo from Liam's arms. His large hand gently cradled the pup's head, checking his temperature. "Pup fever. We need Alara." But the healer was attending a difficult birth in the village. The messenger Alaric sent returned with this news, and a list of instructions from Alara. "Cool baths, special arbs, constant monitoring." "I'll help you," Alaric said, already rolling up his sleeves. What followed was a night unlike any Liam had experienced. The fearsome Alpha King, ruler of 7 packs, sat beside a basin of tepid water, carefully bathing Leo's tiny body while Liam did the same for Luna. When the pups cried, Alaric's deep voice rumbled soothing words that somehow calmed them. His massive hands, capable of terrible violence, measured herb doses with surprising precision. "You've done this before," Liam observed, as dawn approached and the pups finally slept. "Their fever's breaking." Alaric's expression softened almost imperceptibly. "My sister's first litter. 3 pups, all with fever their first moon. I was the only one she would allow to help." The image of a younger Alaric, tending to sick pups, made something warm unfurl in Liam's chest. "You're good with them. They're resilient, like their parent." Alaric's crimson gaze met Liam's. "You would have fought all night alone if necessary." "They're all I have," Liam admitted, exhaustion loosening his tongue. "Everything I am now is for them." Alaric nodded, understanding in his eyes. They sat in companionable silence as the first light of dawn filtered through the windows. The Alpha King looked different in this gentle light, less intimidating. More human. The Alpha King looked different in this gentle light, less intimidating. More human. The hard lines of his face softened as he watched the sleeping pups. "You never told me why you were alone," Alaric said quietly, his eyes still on the pups. What pack would cast out an Omega so close to birthing? Liam tensed, but the night's shared battle had created a fragile trust between them. Silver Creek Pack. My mate former mate accused me of carrying another Alpha's pups. He caught an unfamiliar scent on me after I helped an injured traveler. Alaric's jaw tightened. "And he didn't believe you?" "He didn't want to," Liam said. The pain still fresh. Darius was always jealous. The pups are his, but once doubt entered his mind, he trailed off, remembering the cold fury in Darius's eyes. Pack law allowed him to cast me out. "Barbaric law," Alaric growled. "In my territory, no Omega would be abandoned without proof, especially not one carrying pups." Liam looked up, surprised by the vehemence in Alaric's voice. "Your pack seems to treat Omegas well, I've noticed." "My mother was an Omega," Alaric said, the admission clearly not one he made often. "She taught me that a pack's strength lies in how it protects its most vulnerable members." As the sun rose higher, Alaric reluctantly stood. "I have duties to attend to. Rest while the pups sleep. I'll send food." At the door, he paused. "Liam, ... you and the pups could stay. Not just until you recover permanently." Before Liam could respond, the Alpha King was gone, leaving him with a tumult of emotions and a decision he wasn't ready to make. A month passed, then Liam found himself settling into life in the Northern Realm. The pups grew stronger daily, their personalities emerging, Leo bold and curious. The pack had largely accepted their presence, especially after witnessing Alaric's obvious care for them. Liam was in the gardens with the pups when Lyra, Alaric's sister, approached. Her usual cool demeanor seemed troubled. "My brother has called. An emergency council," she said, without preamble. "Silver Creek Pack has requested an audience." The blood drained from Liam's face. "Darius is coming here? They're Beta and a delegation. They claim we're harboring something that belongs to them." Lyra's eyes flicked to the pups. "Alaric wanted you warned." Liam clutched the pups closer. "He wouldn't, my brother, would never." "Hand you over," Lyra interrupted, her voice certain. "But you should know what you're facing. The delegation arrives tomorrow." That evening, Alaric came to Liam's chambers, his expression grave. "You've heard?" Liam nodded, watching the Alpha King pace the room like a caged predator. The pups were asleep in their cradle, oblivious to the tension. "What will you do?" Liam asked quietly. Alaric stopped pacing, his crimson eyes intense. "What do you want me to do?" The question caught Liam off guard. In his former pack, Omega weren't consulted on such matters. I don't want to return. Ever. But I don't want to cause war between packs. If they demand your return, there will be conflict," Alaric said bluntly. "I won't surrender, you or the pups." The possessive note in his voice sent a shiver down Liam's spine. "Why? Why risk your pack's safety for us?" Alaric moved closer, his massive frame looming over Liam. "You know why?" The air between them crackled with tension. Over the past month, their interactions had grown charged with unspoken feelings. Liam had caught Alaric watching him with the pups, something like longing in his usually guarded expression. "I can't ask you to fight my battles," Liam whispered. "You didn't ask? I chose." Alaric's hand rose, hesitating before gently touching Liam's cheek. "From the moment I found you in that storm, I chose." The next morning, Liam watched from a hidden alcove as Silver Creek's delegation entered the Great Hall. Darius wasn't among them, but Liam recognized his former Pax Beta, Marcus. Leading the group, Alaric sat on his throne, the picture of alpha authority. His sister and top warriors flanked him, a clear show of strength. Alpha King, Alaric, Marcus began with a bow. "We come seeking justice. A month ago, an Omega from our pack fled, after being lawfully rejected for infidelity. We've tracked him to your territory. And what business is this of mine?" Alaric's voice was dangerously calm. "The Omega carries pups that belong to our pack. Our laws are clear even. If the Omega is cast out, pups of pack blood must be returned." Murmurs rippled through the hall. Liam's heart pounded so loudly he was certain everyone could hear it. "Interesting," Alaric said, leaning forward. "And what proof do you have of these pups' parentage?" Marcus faltered slightly. "Our Beta recognized his bloodline in them, the same Beta who rejected their parent." Alaric's voice dripped with contempt. "The same Beta who left an Omega to birth alone in a storm. Our laws mean nothing here," Alaric cut in, rising to his full, intimidating height. "In my territory, abandoning an Omega and newborn pups is punishable by exile or death. Consider yourselves fortunate. I don't enforce my laws on your pack." Marcus's face flushed with anger. "This is pack business." "You have no right." "I have every right," Alaric roared, his alpha voice making the very stones of the hall vibrate. "The Omega and pups are under my protection. They are mine now." The declaration echoed through the hall. From his hiding place, Liam gasped softly. Alaric had just claimed them publicly. Declaration no alpha could make lightly. "This means war," Marcus warned. Alaric smiled a predator's smile that showed too many teeth. "If that's your choice, but consider carefully. Silver Creek against the 7 packs of the Northern Realm. You won't survive the first moon." The threat hung in the air, undeniable in its truth. Marcus and his delegation withdrew, but Liam knew this wasn't over. As the hall emptied, he remained hidden, trembling with fear and something else, the realization that Alaric had just risked everything for him and his pups. That night, a storm raged outside the fortress, lightning illuminating Liam's chambers. In brief, harsh flashes, it reminded him painfully of the night he'd given birth, alone and terrified. But now, as he stood by the window, watching the tempest, he was safe, warm, protected because of Alaric. A soft knock at his door pulled him from his thoughts. The Alpha King entered, his powerful frame silhouetted against the torchlight from the corridor. He'd shed his formal attire from the day's confrontation, wearing only a simple tunic and trousers that did little to diminish his imposing presence. "But pups?" Alaric asked, his voice low. "Sleeping through their first storm," Liam answered, gesturing to the cradle where Luna and Leo lay peacefully. "They feel safe here." Alaric moved to stand beside him at the window, close enough that Liam could feel the heat radiating from his body. "And you? Do you feel safe?" "Yes," Liam admitted, "but also afraid." "What you did today changes everything." "It changes nothing," Alaric countered. "It only acknowledges what has been true since I found you. You and the pups belong here." Liam turned to face him fully. "Why? Why would you risk war for us?" "Your pack, my pack, is strong enough to withstand Silver Creek's threats," Alaric interrupted. "And as for why, ... He paused, seeming to struggle with words, unusual for the typically decisive Alpha King. Lightning flashed, illuminating the vulnerability in Alaric's crimson eyes. "I never intended to take a mate," he finally said. "After becoming Alpha King, I convinced myself that ruling 7 packs required all my focus. That attachments were a weakness I couldn't afford. Liam's heart pounded as Alaric continued. Then I found you in that storm, fighting to protect your pups even as your strength failed. I've never seen such courage. Alaric's voice softened. And every day since, watching you with them, seeing your gentleness, your resilience, ... I've been fighting a losing battle against what I feel. Alaric Leon whispered, hardly daring to believe what he was hearing. The Alpha King reached out, his large hand cupping Liam's cheek with surprising tenderness. I love them, he admitted. Your pups, I love them, as if they were my own. And I love you, Liam. I think I began loving you that first night, when you were barely conscious, yet still trying to protect your children. Tears welled in Liam's eyes. After rejection and abandonment, after believing he would never be wanted again, these words seemed impossible. I don't expect you to return my feelings, Alaric continued. You've been through too much, and healing takes time. But I want you to know that my claim today wasn't political. It was the truth of my heart. Liam closed his eyes, overwhelmed. When he opened them again, determination had replaced his tears. When Darius rejected me, I thought I was broken, that no alpha would ever want an omega with another's pups. I never imagined finding someone who would love them as his own. Took a shaky breath. I've been afraid to admit what I feel. Afraid. It was gratitude, confused with something deeper. But it's not just gratitude, Alaric. When you're with the pups, when you look at them with such care, my heart feels like it might burst. Alaric's eyes widened slightly, hope dawning in their crimson depths. I love you, Liam confessed. I love how you protect without smothering, how you're fierce with your enemies, but gentle with the vulnerable. I love that you see Mean not just as an omega or a parent, but as a person worthy of choice. The Alpha King's control finally broke. With a low growl, he pulled Liam into his arms, his lips finding Liam's in a kiss that spoke of months of restrained longing. Liam melted against him, his omega instincts singing with rightness as Alaric's scent enveloped him pine smoke, and something uniquely alpha. When they finally parted, breathless, Alaric pressed his forehead to Liam's. Be my mate, he whispered. Let me be a father to your pups. Let me protect you, not because you need protection, but because you deserve to never feel afraid again. From the cradle came a soft, cool Luna awakening, as if sensing the momentous shift in her world. Alaric moved to lift her, his massive hands cradling her tiny form with practiced ease. He brought her to Liam, the three of them forming a circle that felt like the beginning of something profound. Yes, Liam said, watching his daughter reach for Alaric's finger with complete trust. Yes to all of it. Outside, the storm began to subside. As if nature itself approved of the new bond forming within the fortress walls, 6 months later, the Northern Realm celebrated the official mating ceremony of their Alpha King. The fortress bloomed with flowers and lights, as pack members from all 7 territories gathered to witness the historic union. Luna and Safei and Juna and Leo, now crawling and babbling, played under Lyra's watchful eye as Liam prepared for the ceremony. A silver circlet marking his new status as Omega King. You've changed him, Lyra said, adjusting Liam's ceremonial robes. Alaric was always a good alpha, but now he leads with his heart as well as his strength. The ceremony took place in the Great Hall, transformed by candlelight and pine scent. Pack members lined the path as Liam walked toward Alaric, who waited with undisguised adoration. The pups toddled behind Liam, now beloved heirs to the Northern Realm. I found you in a storm, Alaric vowed, his voice carrying throughout the hall. Broken but undefeated. You taught me that true strength lies not in power, but in the courage to love, despite pain. Liam's voice trembled as he responded. I was lost when you found me. You showed me that family isn't always born from blood, but built through choice and love. The ceremonial bite that followed Delaric's mark on Liam's neck sent approval, rippling through the assembled wolves. The Alpha King presented his complete family to the pack, declaring them the future of the Northern Realm. Later, as they settled the tired children into bed, Liam felt profound contentment. Luna curled protectively around her brother, both exhausted from the day's excitement. They're growing so fast, Alaric murmured, his arm around Liam's waist. Soon they'll be asking questions about everything, Liam said, including how they came to have two fathers. Liam turned in his mate's arms. We'll tell them the truth, that sometimes rejection leads to finding where you truly belong. Alaric pulled him closer. And that sometimes the greatest gifts come to us in the midst of storms. Outside their window, the northern realm stretched peaceful under a blanket of stars. The border where Liam had once crossed, desperate and alone, now represented not an ending but a beginning, the first step on a journey home. As Alaric's lips found his, Liam knew that no matter what challenges came, they would face them. Together, family forged not by circumstance, but by choice. A rejected Omega and a lonely Alpha King, finding in each other exactly what they hadn't known they were seeking.